What's up, y'all? What's going on? Love Brooks here. I am I'm excited to give you all my 1 month reflection about being in my doctorate program. So just to catch everybody up, first, moment of silence for Mr. Williams of Missouri. Yesterday he was executed, and I do want to give a moment of silence for him. Sending some love and light to his family. You guys can, do your research, look that up. It's very timely, very relevant. Again, I am in my education doctorate program that focuses on racial and social justice. So crazy work that the execution that took place yesterday. All of the things that we written about in the various books that I shared with you all before that we would be covering in class. It's a lot going on, election season. Everybody's talking about the election and all of that stuff. And at the same time, still doing the work in regards to my educational consulting firm, which we focus a lot on equity work. So that's a lot. But what I want to do, I want to start with um, my cohort is full of amazing, amazing educators. Many of them are from Missouri, and they're awesome. They are rock stars. Really nice dialogue exchange taking place. I love talking. Y'all know English teacher by trade, so I love reading, writing, anything to engage in dialogue exchange. So we have some very enriching conversations. Shout out to Dr. Hassler. That is our professor for our 2 classes. And then, of course, Dr. Good. I love Dr. Good. He's also one of the mentors for the program. And then there are 2 other young ladies serving as mentors. So, really nice, amazing people that are in the class. And they add a lot of value, a lot of different perspectives as far as the roles in which people serve. You have everybody from teaching K5, working in the elementaries. You have middle school educators, and you have high school educators, and then you also have admin, central office staff. So there are a few other, I think maybe 2 other consultants. So it's just a nice mixture of people who are doing this work in their respective places. So I want to get directly into the readings, y'all. These readings, in particularly this book, oh my God. Like, this book literally, and I would even say paired with White Rage, because they both wild. I think this one resonate a lot because it focuses on the history of St. Louis. And I did not know to the extent that St. Louis has played a major role in a lot of the violence that has been birthed out of the Americas as it relates to, mass genocide on Native Americans. Learning all of your Native wars were staged out of St. Louis Jefferson Barracks, to be exact. Learning that many of, and we know street names are named after people, historic figures and things like that, or what we call historic figures. But learning like some of the streets in which my family stay on are named after people who have uh, heinous legacies of genocide. It's just crazy. But this book, even it forced me um, to really assess what am I doing in this program and like why, because it's almost like torture. And what I explain to people is this, is that I'm at a point in my life where I have created a really peaceful life. I truly have, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the vision from the Most High, number one, to do the work that I love to do with my educational consulting firm. I feel really good about that, but I also feel good about the activities that I engage in that keep me grounded. Going to the lake, exercising, just my lifestyle, reading, uh, creating a life that is centered around just peace. And this class is disturbing. It's disturbing that peace. And so I had to reflect. Number one is not about the title that I'll receive after completing the degree. It's far from that. But I chose to do racial and social justice because it aligns with the work that I do with the educational consulting firm. But also because I don't want to ever act like um, I got all the information, right? I know that there's more learning that can take place. And so with it, I just want to be of great service. I want to be research based. I want to make sure that I have the history behind things. And so it really did force me to just kind of like zone in on like why are you doing this? Like, is it necessary? Do you really want to put yourself through this? Because it is so disturbing to the extent where I have people that I enjoy, talking to, and I didn't answer my phone, for a couple of days because my thing is this: like, I realized that it was impacting me on a metaphysical level, to where I did not feel that the energy that I was putting off was beneficial for others. And I'm at the point where I govern myself accordingly when it relates to my energy. I want to make sure that I'm showing up and that my energy is pleasant. And if I am self-aware that it's not in a good space, then I don't take that around anybody. And so I didn't answer my phone, and I felt bad because I enjoy human connection just like everybody, but I want to be mindful of my energy, and my energy was not this book. My energy was not right at all, but it made me also write. So I'm gonna share with y'all a poem that I wrote. I'm gonna share with y'all this poem. I had to express myself, and this is one of the ways that I express myself. So I'd also made a post that because I'm taking this class and it is forcing me to be in uncomfortable spaces, that I have no choice but to engage more in the activities that I love. And so writing is number one. I love writing. I love being by the water. I love, any type of creative outlet, artwork, whatever the case may be. So let me find this poem for you all. Let me find this poem. I done been in the studio. I done recorded it. I got so many things. Okay, let me find. I got even so many things in here. Okay, so the name of this poem. Okay, it's a prose. If we got to get technical, I call it a poem. Technically, it's prose. All right, so it's gonna sound almost like a baby monologue, like we just exchanging dialogue. It's called "To Be Excited and Outraged at the Same Time." Yeah, that's what going back to school feel like. So I told my cousin I was getting a doctorate in racial and social justice. He say, "Oh, so you one of them Black Lives Matter people." I couldn't do nothing but laugh. But yo, once I got into the first few readings, I was at the I flip all this shit over point. Outrage. See, I'm at the most peaceful points in my life. Like I've designed my life to experience supreme peace through my ways and actions, my habits. But see, this class I signed up for is the very source for every ill fate just this week. Like I can track it back to the psychological trauma that unfolded in my brain while reading these horrific events inflicted on my people. And I signed up for this. Now that's wild. Snapping. So yes, I literally I just had to write. I just had to express how I felt because I really did. Like upon reading the first few readings, I was like literally like I knocked all this stuff over because what is going on? Like what are we doing? Like what are we doing? And then I think what makes it more horrific is that we can see it happening again. we see the same thing happening again. And is to be in the education industry, to have all of this access to information, to know, some of the things that can be done to offset these things, and to know that we are now self-domesticated. And I'm speaking from a point of um African American in the education space, and looking at some of my counterparts who are leaders, and who make some of these decisions that are perpetuating the same system of oppression, through something that is supposed to be liberating, through the education industry that's supposed to be liberating. It's just so interesting to me, because we are, let me say this, I'm very confident in knowing that we are on an upward trajectory. So I know that things are getting better. Things are absolutely getting better. And it takes us to be so grounded in what we do to even go back, force yourself to take a class where you're going to be reading material such as this. When I say these books, y'all, my God, the stories, the history that are in here, even learning about, and this one here, learning about, there was so many accounts, so many instances to where you had blacks, free blacks. The first free black man, when he came to St. Louis, this was the first account of hanging. It took place in St. Louis. Crazy wild, and the black man was free. Crazy wild. We learned about, as a kid, we always heard the history of St. Louis hosting the World's Fair. So we always looked at it like, oh, the World's Fair, we know it's this park that's in St. Louis, Forest Park, that was constructed to be a focal point of the World's Fair. The houses that line Forest Park, very beautiful mansions that line it, all of this construction took place because the World's Fair was coming. Well, at the same time, I did not know that there was apparently a red light district that also existed in downtown St. Louis. And so while the World's Fair was going on, there was also an act called sporting. So you would have affluent whites going down to the red light districts. Basically, racial capitalism, prostitution was legal. Okay, so if you get my drift. But the other thing it also talked about was that the World's Fair also showcased like all of the colonization that took place across the world, right? And it reinforced white supremacy. So you had all of the different, you've always heard about Africans on display, or different cultures that are on display at these events, fairs, circuses, things like that. And that's what the World's Fair was. So it showed every single war that the Europeans engaged in, and showed themselves as the victor. Even in the wars that African Americans were allowed to participate, they could not even enact, or they could not be a part of those exhibits. They could only be a part of the exhibit that showcased them as slaves. And to the extent to where even if they were of service, they could not wear their service uniforms on the fair grounds. So you just had, it was just a big mass display of white supremacy. It was even, exposed that we have the large Fair St. Louis now is what it's called, but the 4th of July celebration, which was started by the Veil Prophets. And when you research the Veil Prophets and knowing, who they were, what they upheld, all of the pillars of white supremacy, and so forth, and just really looking at the history of St. Louis is just interesting in itself. It just talked about how we were known for having one of the largest weapons or armories here. I say here, I'm in Texas, but St. Louis was known for having all of these arms. Like, we just had a lot of weapons that came out of there. So even when you think about the narrative that's shaped around, oh, St. Louis is the number one murder capital per capita, this and that. And if you actually go back and do the research in the history since the genesis of St. Louis, since the beginning, since the founding times of St. Louis, it's been the number one murder capital, right? If all of your Native American wars or Indian wars were staged out of St. Louis, you just think about, what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of like where this action, these thoughts, these meetings, these trainings, where did they start? And to know that they started in St. Louis is crazy, crazy work. And again, I'm doing a reflection because I'm excited to see in 3 years, once I finish my program, like where my frame of mind is going to be at, what work am I going to be engaged in. And I'm just really excited for it. So right now, this is the book that we are reading right now. It's called Nice Racism. So we finished both of these books. We didn't like power through. We didn't finish both of these books. Literally power through. We're on Nice Racism right now. Very interesting book. One of the things that I can say is that the author does have the author does have, I would say, mixed reviews from readers, right? What I do like about it, and what I find to be interesting, is that when you speak about white fragility as a white person, you are going to get some backlash from white people. And so even in the book, she talks about it. You have some of the non-minorities that kind of speak about, their sentiments towards the author. Also bringing up the fact that, and not just non-minorities, but other people also mentioned how there was some controversy over racial capitalism as far as her exploiting this work and profiting from it. One of the things that I brought up today, shout out to 19 Keys and D1, I was watching the podcast interview that they most recently did, and he was talking about conscious capitalism. And I'm a fan of it. Okay, if you're sharing information that raises the consciousness of others, right? I would prefer that than racial capitalism and racial exploitation through capitalistic efforts, right? Meaning, if you are providing low income housing, but it's like you a slumlord, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not trying to give them quality things like that, right? But and you're targeting minorities who obviously have, low income housing assistance or things like that, versus you are helping other folks understand, like, what it means to be a progressive white person, and to be, a seemingly progressive white person, and have a little bow tie on your nice racism, right? And so I would rather somebody make money off of doing that, exposing the habits, the traits, the behaviors that are associated with it, that do make minorities feel uncomfortable, especially, when we're doing this work and it's supposed to be looked at as progressive, right? So we talked about that. Very great dialogue today in class. We actually broke up into affinity groups, and I was sharing an experience of there was an organization that, and we broke off into affinity groups. We had their central office meet in affinity groups. One affinity groups was non-minorities and one was minorities. And I got a message that they wasn't sure what was going on, but all of the black people were in their room, and they were laughing. They wanted to know, like, what were they laughing and talking about. And so in the book, in Nice Racism, it even talk about like how uncomfortable non-minorities, white people, get when you break off into affinity groups, which essentially is like a safe space. And I will say that even for our class, because obviously mixed race, dominant being African American, but you do have non-minority whites. You also have Hispanic, Latinx. Please forgive me. I want to be correct. Puerto Rican, African and Puerto Rican. And so it felt like a breath of fresh air when we got into our affinity groups. It felt really good. And I say that because we need safe spaces, right? And I feel like a safe space is where we can be our authentic self, and talk about issues that are really I think dear to us when we are doing this work, that we just need to soundboard off of each other, that we just need to thought partner with one another. And I think it also allows us the opportunity to release the burden of having to always be like the know-it-all in the subject. Like we're the ones that's talking and doing the work, and that allows for non-minorities to kind of sit back. But when you break off into affinity groups, one of the things that I really liked was when we came back to our larger groups, that some of our white counterparts or classmates, they were saying, just being speaking from a place of vulnerability, and they were sharing how, like, dang, I try to like make sure when I speak that it's almost like I'm trying to credential myself as like one of the good ones. And they were being very vulnerable about that. And I think it's good for them to exchange dialogue with one another, because the iron sharpen the iron. Like, you may have well intentions, but being able to caucus or create an affinity group to where you can kind of debrief and reflect on your behavior. Because even within our group, one of the questions came about was like, is it our responsibility to teach non-minorities? It's like, is it our responsibility? And so everybody weighed in. Very good question, very great dialogue. And one of the things that I said was, I don't think anybody is in this program, number one, that who's not committed to doing the work, right? But what that question did do, it allowed us to exchange dialogue to really kind of refine our why and our position and where we see ourselves in this work. Me being an educational consultant, I love facilitating these types of activities. Whereas you had some people say, I don't want to teach adults. Like, that's not, I rather teach the baby. I think it's all based on preference. It's all based on where you are comfortable at, right? And I think that it is an important question. Like, if you think like, are we responsible? And the other part to that, and what we did get to, was that this work is not done alone. Like, we are not the only ones that are responsible for doing the work. And so what that looks like is collaboration with other non-minorities who are what we term as an ally by our definition, right? Or what we term as a co-conspirator in identifying, these systems of oppression and calling it out and being vulnerable enough to risk their privilege and putting their privilege on the line to speak up about certain things. So very good, great, healthy, rich dialogue around it. Y'all getting a real, I would say, after hours debriefing, because we just had class. One of the other books, this is more so a technical book because I'm English background, and now we are writing an APA style. So we've had two papers that we've had to turn in, and let me tell y'all how I'm a nerd. The first paper I got back, I got a 49 out of 50. I got a 49 out of 50. Y'all, I don't think y'all understand how hot I was. I was hot. I felt that somebody was playing with me, because clearly I should have got a 50 out of 50, right? Exactly, right? Because why not? I'm reading the book. I'm following the APA guideline. I'm using one of my favorite websites for my citations, Son of a Citation Machine. I don't know if I've been using Son of a Citation Machine forever. Okay. Um, it does it helps you with your citing for any type of style. But really reading the book, really taking notes, really putting it into action, and that 49 out of 50 on that first paper, it really kind of it choked me up a little bit. I ain't know, I thought somebody was playing with me. And then I got the second paper back, y'all. A 48 out of 50. Now I know. But I am excited to learn this style, this format. What I will say, and we'll get more on these formats, right? We'll get more on these formats. Um being English background, right? Being a creative, being very, I almost want to say colorful with my words. Oh, I'm a wordsmith. I love words. Um APA ain't really all for that. APA, is your research, it's your scholarly sources, all of that. And that's cool, that's fine. But it really I feel like it limits your creativity to express thoughts and ideas. I mean, and that's how it's set up. If you read and go through it specifically, so there's that. But I wanted to share that with y'all because I think that's so interesting. Like this for real. It ain't like just get the APA manual or guide. And I had got mine before because again, nerd before class started, and I think Dr. Good has shared a version that had like the tabs like poked out. I would have really loved to have that one, but I had already bought this one. But it's really good. It's really good. So yeah, papers, you know, 49 out of 50, 48 out of 50. I take it, I feel like the papers were really good. I feel like they were great actually. But I do know, with APA style, definitely gotta make sure that I uh buckle down on it and get that together. But all in all, I'm enjoying the program. I'm here. Um it's great. I know that it is going to help me. I'm enjoying the dialogue. I have quit several times in my head, like, forget it. Especially because, like I said, some of the reasons are truly disturbing. But it just makes me realize that still enjoy life, have a healthy balance of making sure you do the things that you love to do. Um, and just rock out, just go, just do it, and make sure you do it with a purpose. Be intentful. I'm not trying to waste no time. Um and I'm happy. I'm still happy. I will say that I'm still happy. I'm excited about it. I love learning. Being back in school is so much fun because I'm like a reader anyway. So now it's like I got, homework. It's like really cool outside of the work that I already do. But it's just cool. So I'm happy. I want to give y'all, because I told y'all I'm gonna document the process. So this is me documenting the process. So yeah, we still doing it. We still at it. I'm still enrolled. I'm gonna stay a little while longer. I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in. Y'all can tell. Look, I'm sleepy. I'm sleepy. These them sleepy hours. But yeah, shout out to Nelson Mandela. Hey, shout out to Nelson Mandela. All right, y'all have a good night.